Gentlemen, let's talk about the moment that every man secretly dreads. And this is the moment when you are faced with a chilling silence, with a sudden distance, and one day she's warm, very affectionate, and responsive. And the next, she's cold, unavailable, and she's pulling away. So today I want to talk about this phenomenon of a female pulling away when you're in a relationship with her. And I'm going to give you the strategies of how to deal with it. So most men panic, they scramble, they plead. But here is the truth. Every pullback is a test of your frame, it's a test of your sovereignty and of your ability to stand as an immovable man in a world that thrives on pulling you off balance. If you don't know how to handle pullbacks, you will bleed respect, you're going to bleed attraction, and ultimately, you're going to lose your power. So today, we're going to dissect what's really happening when she pulls back. And more importantly, we're also going to look at how a man should respond if he wants to remain in control of himself and his destiny. So generally, all women pull back on their men whenever they want something through the back door. Okay? So it's a concept that is indirect. That's why we call it through the back door. Evolutionary psychologist David Bass tells us in Evolution of Desire that such strategies, they are not accidental. They are part of the female mate retention and manipulation tactics that have developed over thousands of years. Remember, and I noted this in Unplugged One, women fight in the psychological. And when they start playing psychological games, most men are completely unprepared. Women have to fight in the psychological because they are not physically as strong as men. Their domain, their battlefield arena is in psychological. In The Manipulated Man, Esther Villa argued that women have perfected these subtle forms of psychological control precisely because they lack the physical strength to dominate men directly. So we need to understand ourselves even as we play these psychological games. So we have to know that our childhood fears of abandonment and guilt make us very uncomfortable when our romantic partners pull back from us. There is a psychologist called John Bowlby who wrote a book called Attachment and Loss. And in that book, he shows that early separation from a caregiver wires men to panic when intimacy is withdrawn. So that same circuitry is the one that fires up in our adulthood when women go cold on us. So it's a form of passive aggression that neither 844 nor CBC nor our education system prepares us to handle. And it's one of the things that our fathers did not tell us. You find yourself in a situation where you actually know violence is happening, you know violence is taking place, but there's no visible evidence. It's like some infrared shit that we find very spooky as men. It's a complete mind disruptor for most men when a woman suddenly grows cold or denies you sex for no apparent reason. There's a book called In Sheep's Clothing, sorry, by George Simon. He calls this behavior covert aggression. Okay? It is real warfare, but it is invisible to the untrained eye. Among the Luo, it's compared actually to witchcraft because it's a sort of bipolar behavior. Someone is switching from hot to cold. So it's actually compared to or comparable to witchcraft. This cultural metaphor perfectly aligns with B.F. Skinner's concept of intermittent reinforcement. I talk about intermittent reinforcement in Unplugged 5 when we are talking about operant conditioning. So in intermittent reinforcement, you find that is where you're alternating warmth and coldness. And this destabilizes the human psyche and conditions compliance. Those of you who are old enough may remember the Nyayo torture chambers, which was being used by Moi's regime to torture political detainees. So they will put you in a room, they make it very hot, becomes like a sauna, and then they switch it again, it becomes very cold. And that was used to break people down psychologically and extract compliance and confessions from them. Pulling back is actually a form of manipulation because it is often an attempt to get you to do something without telling you in a forthright or in a direct fashion. So, Robert Trivers, in his book Parental Investment and Sexual Selection, he explains that indirect strategies often minimize risk for women while still maximizing gain. Okay, so it's almost like using a remote control. So going hot and cold is not considered normal in it's not considered normal behavior in African societies. In African traditional societies, such manipulation was treated as aberrant. In modernity, it is actually excused as female mood swings. Among the Luo, it was classified as a form of witchcraft because, of course, there was also no knowledge of the fluctuation in the moods and the hormones and so on. So people are expressed to suppress any internal things, and externally, you're supposed to appear normal. And if you don't, it is considered as a form of witchcraft or mental illness. So, how do women pull back? Some guys may be asking that. Women pull back by acting distant and cold. They can also pull back by ignoring you, by denying you sex, by sulking, giving you silent treatment, closing or reducing communication, or being unavailable in a puzzling fashion that fucks up our brains. So, David Barr's studies on mate retention strategies show that withholding intimacy is one of the most common female tactics for control and manipulation. So, why do women pull back? Women pull back for various reasons. The first one is they may pull back because they want you to fill a gap so that you do whatever she wants as an act of appeasement or compensation. This is operant conditioning at work. And this was outlined by behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner. I've talked about this in Unplugged 5, as I mentioned earlier. So that is one reason they can pull back. They want you to do something. They want you to fill a gap so that they can extract compliance from you. The second one is they can pull back to draw a reaction from you. So the reaction here is just a form of a shit test. They want to gauge how secure you are as a man. Are you comfortable in your own self and in your own identity, or can you be pulled off center? Rollo Tomasi calls this a congruence test. They want to check whether your behavior is congruent with who you are or who she thinks you are. The third one is you probably actually did something that she did not like. When she pulls back, she wants you to figure it out, reach out, and apologize. This preserves her power without direct confrontation. So when you're pestering her with questions like, you're not okay, tell me what is wrong, tell me what's bothering you, and she tells you, I'm fine, okay? And you know she's not fine. She's pulling back. Psychologists call this stonewalling, and it is designed to frustrate and destabilize you, move you off center. She can also pull back because she no longer wants to be with you and wants to be closer to somebody else. So This is described as emotional disengagement prior to mate switching. It's a rubric of mate switching hypothesis, which David Bass explains in Evolution of Desire. So it's where women create a distance from one partner while investing emotionally in another partner. So why is this such a challenge? It's because we are hardwired to guard our mates. And a pullback normally signals that we are losing them. Our limbic brain normally panics when a woman pulls back because of this instinct. So, Bass research confirms that male jealousy is most triggered when reproductive access is threatened. So, some guys really can't take it when their women pull back. They lose their shit, they freak out. Blue pill thinking also tells you that when she pulls back, as a loving, caring man, you should stop what you're doing, go after her, and inquire what is bothering her until she tells you. This is exactly what Esther Villa warned against, because by doing that, you become a servant of her moods, not the master of your own frame. So pulling back creates an emotional gap. It's a gap you used to feel when your mommy was leaving you alone when you were an infant. Okay? So this triggers a trauma or the fear of abandonment. If the gap is big, you could lose the connection. So at a low level, you know that. Most men fear losing the connection because it portends to being replaced by a competitor and losing intimacy and reproductive access. So from a evolutionary perspective, losing access means genetic extinction, and that is why it feels like death. So it's something that we are hardwired to find repulsive and to find very uncomfortable. So many women will give you the cold treatment, then gaslight you and tell you that if you really cared, you will find out what's bothering her. There's actually a Niger song where a woman says she drank for 5 days nonstop and the guy did not call her to find out whether she was okay. So we say this is bullshit, and you don't listen to that unless you want to be a marionette, being pulled, having your strings being pulled. Esther Villa actually was very blunt. She said that the moment you accept responsibility for decoding a woman's silence, you surrender your sovereignty. You'll spend your entire life trying to decode her behavior. So, gentlemen, let's cut through the fog. Every man eventually faces it, this particular moment when the woman in his life suddenly goes cold. She pulls back, she withdraws attention, and denies intimacy. Or she could be creating distance without explanation. For the unprepared man, this feels like standing in front of an invisible enemy. You can imagine how that feels like. It's like you're surrounded, you're living in a place that is haunted by ghosts. Evolutionary psychology tells us why this hits so hard, and our attachment systems are hardwired to panic when the bond feels threatened. Our limbic brain, that is forged through millions of years of mate guarding instincts, interprets this distance as looming abandonment. And yet, modern men, conditioned by Hollywood scripts and blue pill socialization, often read it in the worst possible way. And they respond by chasing, by appeasing, and by relinquishing their frame. In Rational Male, Rollo warns us that the moment you relinquish your frame, you relinquish power. What follows then is not just advice, but a toolkit for masculine sovereignty. So I'm going to give you 15 ways of managing or handling uh, pullback situations in your relationship. So you need to be equipped with this. The first thing is you need to master emotional detachment. In the Daily Stoic, Ryan Holiday reminds us that you don't control what happens, you control how you respond. This is very important. Stephen Covey in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People tells you that you need to focus on your sphere of influence. So don't be bothered with trying to control how someone is behaving. Control how you respond to their behavior. That is where your strength is. So a pullback is normally designed, consciously or not, to trigger panic. You need to recognize this reflex. And that's why self-awareness is very important. Instead of reacting with fear, you need to cultivate detachment. You need to also develop tools, okay? Tools like journaling, meditation, cold exposure, or stoic visualization, okay? Stoic visualization can involve you accepting that she's already gone, okay? You accept it, you resign yourself to it. Instead of chasing, let her go. Each of these tools are going to build resilience in you. And when you detach, you shift from being an emotional prey to being a centered observer. The second thing you need to do is to reframe the pullback as data. So don't interpret a withdrawal as rejection. Instead, you should treat it as intel, treat it as information. Ask yourself, is it a shit test? Is it genuine disinterest? Is it manipulation? Is it conditioning? So rather than respond or react, try to understand, figure it out. Robert Greene tells us in the 48 Laws of Power that this kind of action is called reading the terrain. So rather than respond, read the terrain. Strategy, not sentiment, must guide your response. So use it as data. Don't react. Instead, use it as intel. And if it's a test, pass it with calm indifference. I've already done a video about how you can handle shit tests. And if it is disinterest, let her go. If it's manipulation, expose it by refusing to play. The third thing that you need to do is to employ operant conditioning against her. The behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner, he proved that behavior repeated is behavior rewarded. So don't reward that kind of behavior unless you want it to be repeated. That's why you should not entertain it. So never reward pullbacks with appeasement. Doing so only teaches her that withdrawal is equal to control. Whenever she wants to get in control of things, she just needs to withdraw. Also, you need to also reward direct communication, respect, and warmth. So remember operant conditioning is about reinforcement, okay? You punish bad behaviors and you reward good behaviors. If she disappears and returns sweet, don't instantly validate, okay? Some of them can disappear. You also pull back, then she comes back and now she's very sweet. You don't instantly validate. Delay your attention and flip the reinforcement schedule. This is called frame control in behavioral psychology, okay? So you must hold your frame. The fourth thing is you must maintain an abundance mindset. This is in the red pill normally say hypergamy does not care. Women are hardwired to seek the best option. And the only antidote is abundance. You must have an abundance mindset. If you operate from scarcity, a pullback is going to drive you out of your center. So build wide networks, invest in yourself, and whether or not you're monogamous, you need to cultivate the mindset that options exist. And when you're aware that options exist, then pullbacks stop being threats when you realize that she may not be the only one. The fifth thing is you need to apply the principle of non-investment. So if you have a woman who is inconsistent, who is blowing hot and cold, high value men don't invest in such women, because that means you want to invest your future and your emotions or feelings in unpredictable or unpredictability. So if she pulls back, match that energy. Pull back too. Never chase and never fill the gap. Rich Cooper tells us in Unplugged Alpha that the man who waits at the finish line is the prize. When you don't chase, you create a psychological pressure for her to step back, to step forward. The sixth one is you need to maintain social proof and pre-selection. David Bass tells us in evolutionary psychology, in his book Evolution of Desire, that women prefer men who are desired by other women. So when she withdraws, maintain your social proof. Keep thriving. Let us see that your life is full, that your life is rich, and you are valued by others. So this is not petty jealousy. This is evolutionary signaling that you are in demand. Okay? The seventh thing is you need to use time and silence as weapons. For the guys who panic when she pulls back, you need to remember that silence is active dominance. Time is leverage. We normally say that victory belongs to the patient man. You need to cultivate patience. Resist the urge to fill the void with explanations or chasing. In the 48 Laws of Power, Green reminds us that you should always say less than necessary. Let her wrestle with the silence. The eighth point is you need to clarify boundaries early. So early on, you need to tell her what you can and cannot take. Have your non-negotiables. Tell her the things that you do not like. So weak men normally wait until after the pullback to set the boundaries. But strong men set them up front. Set your boundaries up front. Say it plainly. I respect direct communication and I do not do silent treatment or games. Say it clearly. And this sets the subconscious frame. Manipulation tactics will not stick. The ninth thing is you need to prioritize your male brotherhood. You need to have your friends. Jack Donovan reminds us in The Way of Men that strength, mastery, courage, and honor are forged in brotherhood. So when she pulls back, don't spiral into isolation. Anchor yourself in your tribe of men. Your identity should never orbit one woman. The 10th thing is you need to adopt the she's already gone mindset. In The Manipulated Man, Savila argues that men are enslaved by fear of abandonment. You need to kill that fear. Assume that she can leave at any time. Once you internalize this, then you stop clinging, you stop bargaining, and you stop begging. You then embody detached strength. Okay? The 11th thing is you don't react. Most men panic. They scramble to close the gap. They feel guilty, confused. They want to find out what's happening, and so on. Hollywood brainwashing tells guys that you need to chase her when she pulls back. This is actually weakness. Pullbacks are like her saying, appease me. Once you appease, you lose frame. And when frame is gone, power is gone. So if you open the gap, let her close the gap. If she wants to leave, let her leave. If she plays games, refuse to play. You are the immovable watchtower. As you say in Islands, jibambe, have fun. Watch her jibambe. Okay? It is not up to you to figure out which game she's playing. 12 things you need to limit your availability. Pullbacks are a form of disrespect because she wouldn't do this to her boss. She knows she cannot do that because she values her job. So why tolerate it in your relationship? There was a recent, I was chatting with a lady recently, and she was saying that she wants that men should be able to understand when she's having a period and she's in a bad mood. So I asked her, do you show your boss bad moods when you're in your periods? Then she just said, by the way, you are right. So it's a form of disrespect. You withdraw your availability, get busy, become scarce. The behavioral psychologist B.F. Skinner gave us that law. It says that what goes unpunished is repeated. By limiting access, you correct behavior. Okay? That's a form of negative reinforcement. 13th thing is you need to analyze where your game has gone weak. Perhaps you slipped. Maybe you've become a beta male. You're giving her too many compliments. You're becoming too much available. Okay? You need to remember in the mystery method, mystery tells us that attraction dies when challenge disappears. Correct this course and stop acting like a beta male. 14th thing, you need to prioritize your purpose, your money, and your shape. In the way of men, Jack Donovan reminds us that masculinity is strength, it is mastery, and it is courage. So stay on mission, level up. You need to increase your value into perpetuity. Take up the burden of performance. Okay? In fact, Rich Cooper is very blunt in Unplugged Alpha. He says that you can lose money chasing women, but you can never lose women chasing money. So get on your grind, build, create. When you're chasing a legacy, you won't even notice her pullback. So sometimes it's just an evidence that you are off your mission. That's why the pullback is bothering you. You're not busy enough. The 15th thing is you need to accept that she chose to be with you. In the myth of male power, and Fallel observed that men enslaved themselves by feeling responsible for women's emotions. You need to stop that. A woman is in a relationship with you because she chose to stay. Okay? Not because you have to convince her every day to stay with you or you have to entertain her. Your role is not to convince her, but to lead her. So women love value and men value love. If you're a man of value, she stays. If not, she will leave. And if she leaves, she was never yours. It was only your turn. You need to accept that. So in summary, don't retreat, don't chase. Limit your availability, become scarce. Reinvest in your mission, money, fitness, and purpose. Use silence and time as leverage. Analyze your game. Why did your frame slip? Reward respect, not manipulation. Keep your abundance mindset and options alive. Okay? Anchor yourself in your brotherhood, and you can also assume she's already gone and stay sovereign. So here's a question I have for you guys. When she pulls back, will you react like a boy, desperate for mommy's approval? Or will you stand like a man rooted in your purpose, in your power, and in self mastery? What are you going to do when she pulls back? Pullbacks are not punishments, they are x rays. They reveal your strength or they expose your weakness. So I want to hear from you guys. How have you handled pullbacks in your own relationships? Did you chase or did you hold the line? What worked and what mistakes do you wish you had avoided? So drop your thoughts in the comments below and let's sharpen each other as men who refuse to lose the frame, no matter the game being played. I'll see you guys in the next one. Gentlemen, if you found value in this video, do me a solid. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with another man who needs to hear it. Here is why it matters. When you like and subscribe, YouTube pushes this content to more men out there who are struggling silently. So your simple click could be the reason another man wakes up to his reality. You could actually save a life by doing so. And for you who has already watched, subscribing makes sure you never miss these lessons. Every week, I'll be dropping strategies, red pill truths, and survival frameworks that will help you to stay sharp, stay sovereign and ahead of the curve. So subscribe, like, share, because when one man wins, we all rise.